Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. As the title suggests, I have another Revolution Pro color focus palette here today. This time it's called Truth or Dare, and it is a dupe of the McGrath Mothership 5 Bronze Seduction palette. I already uploaded another video where I tested out the Revolution Pro color focus palette that's duping the McGrath Mothership 1 Sublime palette, and I really like that palette. It was an exact dupe of the original for a fraction of the price. As you guys know, these McGrath palettes are super expensive. They are $125 or £120 here in the UK, and really the only way to buy whatever palette you want is to go to McGrath's website and wait until it gets shipped from the USA, because even though she is a British makeup artist, the brand is based in the USA. The warehouse they ship from is based not that far from Philadelphia. So if you want to have access to her whole range of products, you will need to buy from her own website, because here in the UK the only other ways to get her palettes are from Selfridges or from Net-a-Porter, but they don't have the full range of products. They only carry a couple of her eyeshadow palettes. As you guys probably know, the Bronze Seduction palette comes in this absolutely gorgeous packaging. This is probably my favorite packaging from her. I love everything about it. And inside that packaging you have the palette that looks like this. This is a quite generic packaging. All of her Mothership palettes come in this packaging, except if you pick up a limited edition palette. And this is how the shades themselves look like. I feel like this is the most compact palette from her, because you really have everything here that you would need to create an eyeshadow look. With some of her palettes, you really won't be able to complete a look just using that one palette. You would need to dip into other palettes as well. But I feel like if you want to have just one palette from her, that would be definitely this one for most people, because you have light shades, medium brown shades, dark shades, you have beautiful shimmers, and you really have just the right balance between the shimmery and matte shades, and you get some gorgeous color shifting shades as well here. You get 13.2 grams of product, which is definitely not a lot. It's quite average. It's definitely a lot less than you would get in a Natasha Denona palette. I know these palettes are very often compared to the Natasha Denona palettes just because of the same price point, but I believe the Natasha Denona palette is only justified costing that much due to the large pans. I feel like the McGrath palettes are a lot higher quality, and they are, at least in my eyes, nothing alike. You also get 18 months shelf life, which is quite standard. As I always say, I would use this palette for about 3 years anyways, just like with all other powder products. And similarly to the Huda Beauty and the Natasha Denona palettes, McGrath's palettes are all made in Italy, including this one. Now, the Revolution Pro Truth or Dare palette comes in a lot more boring packaging, but I would still say that it's really good considering it's a drugstore brand. It is a faux leather packaging. The outer packaging and the palette itself look exactly the same. This palette has officially 12 months shelf life. It was made in Taiwan, and it is cruelty free, and it contains 1.5 grams of product per pan. So overall in the 10 pans you get 15 grams of product, which is slightly more than what you get in the McGrath palette. The good news is though that this palette only costs £15, which is a massive drop compared to the original palette, and because it's a drugstore brand, you will quite often see it for even less, about 11 to 13 pounds. You can very easily pick it up on either Revolution's own website, Beauty Bay. Here in the UK you can go to Superdrugs and pick it up in store, and I believe in the USA you can pick it up in Ulta. Now, the color focus palette I reviewed in my previous video, which was called Night and Day, the palette looked exactly the same as the McGrath version, and because of that, as soon as I saw the palette, I knew that this was a Mothership palette dupe. However, this palette was slightly different because, as you can see, one of the shades was replaced by this blue, and somehow I just wasn't sure, looking at the pictures online, if this is supposed to be a dupe of the Bronze Seduction palette or not. I just didn't understand what is that blue doing there, and they have quite a few different color focus palettes now, and I just assumed that they're all supposed to be duping McGrath palettes. So I kept looking at swatches and trying to figure out which one is supposed to be a dupe of the Bronze Seduction palette, especially since they recently came out with a very similar color focus palette called Nude on Nude that looked eerily similar to this one but without the blue shade. So I wasn't sure which one is supposed to be duping my Bronze Seduction palette, but I just decided to go with this one. I purchased it online, so I couldn't even swatch it, and I'm very happy I did, because this is the dupe of the Bronze Seduction palette. I don't know if they were trying to mislead us with this blue shade, or they're trying to avoid lawsuit. I don't think they do, because then they wouldn't be duping other Mothership palettes exactly looking like the original one. Like I said, they had the Night and Day, and they also had another one called Earth and Stone. Very, very strange to me. Nevertheless, everything except that blue shade is an exact dupe of the color in the Mothership palette, and they are also in exactly the same order. So if you're looking at a tutorial of the Mothership version online, it's going to be very easy for you to find that shade in the dupe palette. And I'm just so relieved that we are still able to buy McGrath palette dupes, because the only other brand who's ever done any dupes was Alter Ego, but they kind of went out of business. I don't know what happened. Their website just went offline, and now it seems like they're gonna come back as a skincare brand, so we won't be able to get those palettes anymore. We still have the Makeup Revolution versions though, and I'm so happy that they perform as good as they do. So as always, one of my eyes today was done using the dupe palette, and I mean, we all know that it's this side because that's the side I do with the dupe palette in every single video, but honestly, you cannot tell the difference. It's amazing. It performed amazing. I will now insert the footage of creating this eye makeup look, and you will see how good this eyeshadow palette performed. Every single shade gave me the same performance as the original one. I have one slight complaint, I will tell you that at the end, but honestly, considering the price difference, I'm amazed. So as always, I started with the original palette each time, and then I went over and completed the same thing on the dupe side. First, I started out with the shade Entrapment, and I added that to my crease, and I blended it outwards and upwards on the outer corner of it. In the dupe palette, this shade is called Toned, and like I said, it's in the exact same position as the original one. Then, to darken up that crease, I went in with the shade Disobedient, and I applied that on the top of the previous shade. In the dupe palette, this shade is called Core, and as you can see, the results are exactly the same on the two sides. Then with a very teeny tiny brush, I took Extreme Aubergine and I applied a very slim line just at the bottom of this crease, basically just above when I knew I was gonna cut the crease. This shade is called Booted in the Revolution palette. So when I was done, I went off camera and I applied some concealer to cut the crease. When I came back, I added the shade Rose Gold 005 all over the cut crease. And this shade in the Revolution palette is called Glimmer. Now, this is the shade that I had slight problems with in the Revolution palette because it almost seems to be like a pressed glitter. When you dip your brush in, a lot of product will fall out and the palette will get really messy. Even when you use your finger with this shade, you can feel how soft it is. So you will need to be very careful with this shade. However, The performance is again outstanding and looks exactly the same as the Pat McGrath one. So when I was done with this, I wanted to spice up this look a little bit. So I went in with the Blitz Flame shade, which is this almost cranberry shade in the palette. And I applied just a little bit of it on the outer and inner corner of the look to kind of add some dimension to the rose gold shade. And I repeated this again on the dupe side. This shade is called Russet in the Revolution palette. When I was done with all of this, I then went back again with the Extreme Aubergine shade just to add a little bit more contrast to the crease, and then I blended it out using the shade Entrapment again, which is the first shade we used from this palette. Again, these shades are called Booted and Toned in the Revolution palette. And then I completed the rest of my makeup. So once again, I just wanted to put these two palettes next to each other for you to show you how they look like. Once again, the Pat McGrath palette appears to be bigger, but you really do get more product in Revolution one, slightly more, but still more. And as you can see, the shades are in exactly the same order. And really the only shade that's been replaced is this Geochrome green shade. It's been replaced by a blue shade. I have no idea why, but I feel like you wouldn't really use this shade that often anyway with the rest of the colors, because it just doesn't really go as well with the other ones. And some looks it might do, but I feel like that was the one shade that we really didn't need in there. And just to show you how good the performance really is, I'm gonna very quickly live swatch a couple of shades for you, starting with the shade Bronze Blaze because we didn't get to use this shade today. So this is how the original one looks like, and this is the dupe one called Mineral. As you can see, the shade is slightly less red in the dupe palette, but as far as performance goes, it's super. Next, let's see Guilty Pleasure, because we didn't use this one either. And the dupe one, it's called Glide. As you can see, it's really, really close. I think the biggest difference is that the dupe one has slightly more glitter in it and it appears to be slightly lighter. And I'm going to also swatch Blitz Flame, which is that cranberry shade that stands out in the palette so much. This is the original one, and this is the dupe one called Russet. I think Russet is probably slightly more purple, but again, really, really close. So that's it for today, guys. I'm really, really happy that I found a dupe for the Bronze Seduction palette, because I feel like this is the most sought after Mothership palette. I was personally also really, really happy to find a dupe for the Subliminal palette, because for me that's my favorite, because I have cool toned skin and I personally enjoy cool toned eyeshadows more. I just gravitate towards them. Nevertheless, I understand that a lot of people find that palette boring, so if this is more your cup of tea but you don't have the money to purchase it, which is completely understandable, these Pat McGrath palettes are super, super expensive. I feel like Revolution gives you a very, very good dupe, and you basically don't sacrifice anything apart of that one shade, because the shades you do get perform super, super similar to the original one. So there is a reason that this line is called Revolution Pro, because this is not drugstore quality anymore. It's really, really good quality, and I feel like that £15, even if you pick it up for full price, is still a really, really affordable price point considering the quality you get for your money. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I would love to have you here. And until next time, take care of yourself. I will see you very soon.